Good morning. Coming up next on Good Morning El Paso, a walk across the street turns deadly for a woman on the east side. Could the driver face charges?
Also this morning, we are just a week away from Election Day. We'll check in on the governor's race in Texas, and we'll see where the candidates are spending most of their money.
Could a nurse kept in quarantine in New Jersey now be suing the state of New Jersey? A look at her goal to change the way the nation handles quarantine cases.
Plus some breaking news in downtown El Paso. A motorcycle wreck sends a man to the hospital.
Live, where news comes first. From the Mesilla Valley and Las Cruces to El Paso and the borderland. This is ABC7's Good Morning El Paso.
A woman is killed while crossing the street on the east side. We are waiting right now for police to release her name.
A very good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Bob Harp.
And I'm Floren. Good morning, everyone. We'll get to that in just a moment, but first, some breaking news that's happening right now. Yeah,
police are looking into a serious motorcycle wreck that happened in central El Paso, actually near downtown. This happened just after 4 this morning near Santa Fe and Paisano. Police have confirmed the victim was taken to the hospital, and according to emergency radio transmissions, the rider was thrown from the bike. We do know the eastbound lanes of Paisano were still closed, so if you normally take that route, you want to avoid that this morning. Yeah, and again, we're working on getting more information right now because it's happening right now. Our round-the-clock crew is on the scene. We'll have a live report coming up in a few minutes. Meanwhile, more round-the-clock coverage right now. A woman is dead after being hit by a car on the 1800 block of George Dieter last night. That's just south of Montwood. We have the video shot by our round-the-clock crew. Special traffic investigators were there for several hours overnight. The woman is said to be between 50 and 60 years old. Emergency dispatch confirmed with us that she was rushed to the hospital where she died. A dark-colored car remained on the scene. Police did not give any information about the driver. It's unclear right now if he or she will actually be facing charges now. When we know, we'll tell you. Pass along that information. Now let's talk about your storm track weather forecast.
Let's talk about storm track weather. Crystal Cly standing by right now. Good morning.
Good morning. Great start to the day, although also a little bit of a chilly start to the day. I said it earlier, I'm wearing a sweater today, and I am quite glad I did because hopping into the car, it was cold in there. As we move through the later part of today, it will be cooler than yesterday, but feel nice in the afternoon. The reason we're cooler, that cold front passing through as we speak. Your temperature at 56 in El Paso. This is a little cooler than it was the last hour of Good Morning El Paso. Your winds are at 5 miles per hour. Las Cruces now down to 49 degrees with calm conditions outside. And on clouds and radar, no rain for us to track. Instead, it's a clear start to the day. It's going to actually be a sunny day, but because of the cold front, the sun won't be enough to heat us up back into the 80s. We're talking 70s in the afternoon. We'll look at your forecast temperatures and also talk Halloween up in a few minutes. Bob?
All right, thanks so much for that, Crystal. The El Paso police officer who was shot last Monday is still in stable condition this morning. This is according to the police department. Now, investigators are telling us that Officer Mike Garcia was shot when he pulled someone over near Yarborough and North Loop. Garcia was shot several times by an alleged gunman, 30-year-old Frank Aparicio. Police are saying Garcia was wearing a bulletproof vest at the time, and Aparicio, who is suspected of killing a woman in a different incident, was found dead the following day from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound.
An El Paso man is dead after authorities say he got into a car chase with deputies in Midland. This happened Saturday evening. The Midland County Sheriff's Office said deputies were pursuing 42-year-old Luis Rodriguez. During the chase, Rodriguez drove his motorcycle right off the road, crashing into a parked car. Officials did not say why deputies were chasing Rodriguez to begin with.
Las Cruces City Council is set to keep an ordinance that's going to raise minimum wage to $10.10 an hour by the year 2017. At a work session yesterday, the city staff was ordered by council to prepare an ordinance that it passed back in June. It would increase wages to $8.50 an hour by 2016. And as for the $10.10 ordinance passed by the council in September, Mayor Ken Miyagishima has said he plans to propose a threshold on the increase, limiting it to businesses with 50 or more full-time employees. For now, the 1010 by 2017 ordinance is still intact.
Do you bank at First Light Federal Credit Union? Then you need to be ready come Friday because your banking services are going to be interrupted. First Light is converting to a new banking system. The transition begins Friday afternoon and is expected to wrap up on Monday. All First Light Credit Union branches will be closed Saturday, November 1st and Monday, November 3rd because of this conversion. Services like online banking and bill pay will be affected. Debit cards will also be subject to limits at ATMs and stores. You can check KVIA.com if you need more details.
Well, now to the latest on the Ebola outbreak. If you hadn't heard, the nurse who was forcibly kept quarantined in a tent in New Jersey, she's finally free this morning. And
her attorney said her goal now is to try to revise current quarantine policies. Here's Tamon Bradley.
After 3 days of confinement to this hospital tent, Casey Hickox is considering suing the state of New Jersey. The nurse who treated Ebola patients in Sierra Leone says she was treated like a criminal, held against her will, with no heat, no shower, and a box for a toilet, even after she tested negative for Ebola.
Her civil rights were violated. At a minimum, she could bring an action for damages.
Governor Chris Christie ordered the quarantine.
I know she didn't want to be there, but the fact is I have a much bigger responsibility to the people of the public.
9 states now require a 21-day quarantine for healthcare workers returning from the Ebola hot zone. The new protocols have sparked controversy. Doctors say mandatory quarantine is unnecessary because only people who show symptoms can spread the disease.
These very brave and courageous health workers, they welcome the kind of response to them when they come back that's at least based on scientific data.
In an effort to come up with a national standard, the CDC has revised its guidance. It now recommends restricted travel and public activity for those who are high risk for coming down with Ebola, while people who have some risk be monitored on a case-by-case basis. In New York, a 5-year-old boy just back from West Africa is still being monitored, even though preliminary tests came back negative for Ebola. Tamon Bradley, ABC News, Washington.
Let's give you a live look at traffic this morning. Keep in mind the eastbound lanes of Paso near Santa Fe still blocked off this morning because of a serious motorcycle wreck. Happened just a few hours ago, and we're being told a man in between 60 and 70 years old was on that motorcycle and crashed with another vehicle and was thrown off the bike. That's what we're understanding right now, but we'll check in with Denise Olivas, who's now working the story from that scene. Remember, eastbound lanes of Paso at Santa Fe are still closed.
We all know that Texas voters are deciding who could be the next governor, but we will see what the Wendy Davis camp was up to while Chuck Norris was in town gunning for the GOP.
And it's been an interesting election season, to say the least. We'll take a look at some of the year's most interesting political ads, including some for Texas governor. That's a little bit later in this hour, so stick with us for that.
Lots to cover, but First, let's check in with Crystal Clyde. She's been working hard on our forecast. Good morning.
Good morning, and it's a great forecast today, but there are some changes as you track towards your Halloween and your weekend. We'll talk more about that after your break.
This is ABC 7, where news comes first.
You're watching ABC 7's Good Morning El Paso with Hillary Floren, Bob Harp, Storm Track weather meteorologist Crystal Clyde, and live reports from Denise Olivas.